This is way better than we thought. A key player with the Rams and how they are gelling with their new team coming up in this episode, as well as key parts of the schedule that have a great impact on the Rams record for this upcoming NFL season. And welcome back to another episode of Rams Digest. I am your host, Joshua Finehirsh, and before we get any further, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on that bell so you do not miss any more daily Rams Digest videos. We just hit 3,300 subscribers yesterday, so Josh and I just want to thank you all very much for the support on that, as it means the world to us that this channel is able to keep growing. So make sure to hit that subscribe button as we are on the road to 4,000 subscribers. Now to our main story of today with the Rams, and new free agent Davante Adams seems to be fitting in really nicely with his new team, as Fox Sports reported. You know, the Rams, they made a change at wide receiver this offseason, cutting ties with Super Bowl MVP Cooper Kupp and signing Davante Adams to a new 2-year extension. And for now, this seems to be really working well with quarterback Matthew Stafford, as he has really, sung the praises of Cooper Kupp, of Davante Adams, which is really, really important, because a quarterback-wide receiver relationship is very key to a team. We saw the Eagles last season, 2 seasons ago now, with the A.J. Brown debacle. No, that was last season. My apologies. Reading, that book on the sideline, Inner Excellence, and everyone thought, oh, do they have beef? And A.J. Brown's been getting Patriots jerseys sent to him, and he's been liking it. So, that relationship is a little bit, on the wraps right now, and we'll see how that relationship really plays out. And it looks like Stafford and Adams are getting along really well. And Stafford and Nacua, and Adams and Nacua have all been a great trio working together so far. And Matthew Stafford had some words talking to NFL Network yesterday about how this new duo has been working together. As he said, he's been great. Obviously, I played against him in the division when I was with Detroit, and I've been a fan of his from afar on the other sideline for a long time, and what he's been able to do in the league kind of speaks for itself. But then getting to be around him personally every day, working with him, throwing to him, just seeing the kind of professional that he is, he fits right in. And this is really awesome to see for the Rams, mainly because you bring in someone new, you don't know exactly how they're going to fit with the team and how exactly he's going to fit in with the offense. And just hearing Stafford already give him his praises like this just means so much for the culture of the team, as Adams is looking to win that first Super Bowl. He looks locked in, and Stafford actually had even more to say about Davante Adams and his praises. That's the kind of guys I've been here in LA, that we've had. I've been lucky enough to throw to a bunch of guys that take the game seriously, love going out and competing and trying to find a way to get better. He's no different, and we're definitely excited to have him. And I know for me as a quarterback, I feel lucky for all the guys I've been able to throw to, and he's definitely up there. Again, just seeing those praises really showing why Davante Adams was such a key signing for this Rams team this past offseason, and how he's really going to be a great, replacement to Cooper Kupp, and an amazing complementary piece to Puka Nacua there as well. And now going on here, as for where the Rams left off last year, they won the NFC West. They went 10-7. They decimated the Vikings in that wild card game and lost a very, very close one to the Philadelphia Eagles in the divisional game. And it's going to be very important. And had the offense been a little bit better on that last drive, the Rams play the Commanders most likely at home at SoFi. Obviously, that was when the fires were still going on, so we'll see if that game would have been moved as well. But the Rams would have had a good shot at the Commanders. And, with Andy Reid, Sean McVay is probably the second best coach in the NFL in my eyes, behind Andy Reid right there. A coaching battle would have been cool. And the Rams-Chiefs Super Bowl that I feel like I've wanted and a lot of fans have wanted would have come to fruition. So Davante Adams looks to be a key part in that as well. The 32-year-old Adams, this is who they're adding. A 6-time Pro Bowler, split the 2024 season between two teams that didn't really do much last year, with the Raiders only 3 games and the Jets 11 games. He missed 3 games with a hamstring injury, which causes a little bit of concern. Hamstring injuries take a long time to heal, as we've seen with the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry. I know a different sport, but he had managed to miss the rest of that series. So we'll see how that does impact Davante throughout this season. He had 85 receptions, over 1,000 yards, and 8 touchdowns. And Adams still ranked, in the top 30 on PFF grades for wide receiver at 75.8. Now, me personally, I like doing PFF grades on this channel. Not really for wide receivers, just because wide receivers, part of it's the eye test, how good their hands are. It's a little tough to grade how good someone's hands are. Obviously, if someone's dropping a lot of passes, they don't have the best hands, and that can be measured with, the amount of drops they have per season. But otherwise, like, vertical jump can be measured, but again, on the field, your awareness, like Puka Nacua, not a fast guy, 4.6 40, but he's able to really manipulate those routes well all throughout the field, and his PFF grade for speed is going to be lower, but his overall grade is going to be higher. So PFF grades for wide receiver don't matter as much to me. The veteran receiver has reached 1,000 yards in 6 of the last 7 seasons, and has posted double-digit touchdowns in 6 of his 11 seasons in the NFL. And I want you to comment down below right now what you think Davante Adams' season stats will be in his first year with the Rams. Now, my predictions are that Davante Adams is going to have 80 catches, 1,175 yards, and 9 touchdowns. He'll be just short of that double-digit touchdown goal, as Stafford does like to spread the ball around in the red area, in the red zone. So we'll see how that goes next season. And make sure to comment down below. I want to hear your comments. I want to start responding to more comments, so make sure to leave that down below there. Heading on here, Stafford also reworked his contract with the Rams this offseason, bumping his salary up to $44.5 million. Not as much as the Brock Purdy extension that just came out today at $53 million, which puts him 11th among active quarterbacks. I believe that would move him down to 12th. I'm not sure on that. We'll see how the Brock Purdy extension kicks in there. And last season, Stafford had 3,700 yards, 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 93.7 passer rating, and a 65.8% completion percentage coming off of that. He ranked 25th among quarterbacks, an overall grade at 74.4, and 28th in passing grade at 72.4 on PFF. And Stafford, totaled all of those numbers, and that's definitely something to keep an eye on. Are those numbers going to stay the same? Are they going to go down? And now I want you to leave another comment down below what you think Matthew Stafford's overall stats are going to be for this season. Now remember, he passed for almost 3,800 yards with injuries to both Kupp and Nacua, as well as Tyler Higbee only playing 2 games. So for Stafford, I have him completing 66% of his passes, so pretty similar to last year, around a career 64% completion percentage guy, so a little higher than his career average. I do think he gets over 4,000 yards for the first time since 2021, throwing for 4,100 yards, 31 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Stafford only threw 8 last year. I do believe with the addition of Adams, the Rams are going to start throwing the ball a little bit more. They're going to start taking some more explosive plays, with Tutu Atwell out there as well. Terrence Ferguson, I do believe, will have a big impact on the offense as well. And for Stafford, he's around a 10 interception guy per season. He has a couple close to 20. The Super Bowl season, he had 17, leading the league. I do believe, Stafford last year in 16 games only throwing 8. I think that's a very positive sign, and that is a sign of more things to come. And this is with everyone fully healthy as well. This is not barring any injuries. These numbers most likely do go down. And something else I do want to make a note of as well is that I believe that Stafford's pass attempts will go up. Last season in 16 games played, he threw for 517. Again, if he plays 16 games, factoring in a rest game here, I do believe that his pass attempts will be somewhere in between 560 and 580. The 580 if he does need to play all 17 games. For the Rams, they're Adams' 4th NFL team throughout his career, obviously spending the majority of his career with the Green Bay Packers, 8 seasons before joining the Raiders and the Jets. And Stafford is currently entering his 5th with the Rams, which he won the Super Bowl with his first season with the team. And now moving on now to the schedule. Obviously, the schedule release happened this Wednesday, and the Rams have a mixed schedule, 13th, most difficult schedule here in the NFL, so pretty middle of the pack. 13th easiest, my apologies there. Middle of the pack still schedule release, strength of schedule. And for this, there are 3 main components of the schedule that we are going to look at today, and this story is brought to us by Rams Wire. The Los Angeles Rams will have their work cut out for them in 2025, facing a difficult schedule that features playoff teams such as the Ravens, Lions, and defending Super Bowl champion Eagles. There are some more favorable games on this schedule as well, looking at the Saints and Titans mainly. But when you break the schedule down into groups, a trio of important stretches really do emerge. As we get into our first one here, weeks 5 through 7. At home versus the Niners on Thursday Night Football. Again, Niners fans travel really well for divisional games. They're going to be packed out at SoFi along with the Rams fans. At Ravens, which is in October, which is what I talked about in my video right before the schedule release, about how I wanted that Ravens game to not be in December or January, so weather is not as big of an impact. And then we go overseas to play the Jaguars in a technical road game in London. So that's going to be an interesting one to, look at there. After the Rams open up their year with the Texans, Titans, Eagles, and Colts, they hit a really big test, both in quality of their opponents and set up a schedule. They have a quick turnaround after the Colts game where they face the 49ers on Thursday Night Football. Then they travel across the country to Baltimore with a bout for the Ravens. And then after that, they fly to London where the Jaguars will be waiting. And by no means will that be an easy victory with them adding Travis Hunter and their success in London. It's a critical stretch right before their Week 8 bye. And if they can't come out with a 2-1 or 3-0 record, it'll be a big boost heading into the second half of the year. Again, the bye week at Week 8 as well, I believe, is very beneficial for the Rams. The best bye weeks are weeks 8 through 11, at least in my opinion right now. And for the Rams, those first 4 games, I do predict that they would go 3-1 in those games. I do believe they lose to the Eagles in Philly. So going 3-1 in those games, going 2-1 or 3-0, with a 2-1 record, they'd be 6-2 heading into the bye week, which is really important. 7-1. Ideally, you want to be 8-0, but I do not believe that is the case. But having a high above 500 record going into that bye is extremely important. And now moving on to the second stretch of games, at Niners, always a tough one, versus the Seahawks, Cooper Kupp's return. And then the game I'm actually looking forward to the most on the schedule, Rams versus Buccaneers at home, late November, Sunday Night Football. That is going to be a barn burner of a game, a high-scoring game, one that I feel like a lot of NFL fans want to see because the Rams-Bucks playoff game, in my opinion, would have been one of the most entertaining games of the last 2 playoffs, and now Rams fans have a chance to get that going. The Rams come out of the bye week and face the Saints in Week 9, which they will win. I don't care how favored they are. They're going to win that game. It's important that they beat the Saints, which they will, because after that, they have 2 divisional games in 3 weeks, plus a primetime matchup with the Buccaneers, as I just mentioned. There's nothing difficult travel-wise about this span of games, all coming to in California, but the opponents very well may be challenging. The Niners are always a tough team, especially if they're healthy this year. And the Seahawks were nearly a playoff team last year before swapping out Geno Smith for Sam Darnold. The Buccaneers could boast one of the most explosive offenses in football, and they'll be a handful as well. This is 100% correct. These are 3 games where, again, you want that 2-1 record. I do believe they will split with the Niners this year if the Niners are healthy. Seahawks will go 2-0. And then this Bucs game is really just about, can you stop Baker Mayfield and the passing? The Bucs defense and the Rams defense, both young. They're both young defenses trying to figure things out. The Bucs no longer have Liam Cohen or Dave Canales. They have a new offensive coordinator, Todd Bowles, there at the helm. That's a really interesting game. And I want you to comment down below, what is your favorite game on the Rams schedule? I would love to hear right now. And like the video for primetime games for the Rams, as those are always the best games to watch, most likely throughout the NFL schedule, as there's always some that aren't the best, but the Rams look to have good primetime games there. And the final stretch, the end of the season, you got at home versus the Lions, huge game, Jared Goff coming back again. You go to Seattle for Thursday Night Football, and then at Falcons for Monday Night Football. In a span of 3 weeks late in the year, the Rams will play on Sunday, Thursday, and Monday. They have a home showdown with the Lions in Week 15, which is one of the biggest games of the year. And after that, they'll be coming off a short week against the Seahawks on the road in a matchup that's likely to have playoff implications. Following the game against Seattle, the Rams will fly to Atlanta for a Monday night game against the Falcons in Week 17. Atlanta isn't viewed as a serious contender just yet, but it is a primetime game on the East Coast, so there is nothing easy about it. And the Falcons no longer have Kirk Cousins, so primetime Kirk Cousins will... Well, they have him for now, but he is not the starter. And primetime Kirk Cousins will not be a concern for the Falcons. And this is a really interesting stretch of games because the Falcons, Michael Penix, we don't know how he's going to be just yet. He looked decent at the end of the year. We'll see how he is with a full year under former Rams head coach Raheem Morris going back to his house this year. Obviously, the Seahawks with Sam Darnold. I love Sam Darnold. I loved sacking him 7 times in that first half in that playoff game. We'll see how that O-line looks against the Rams defense. And again, going to Santa Clara later in the year, weather going to be a factor. Could be rainy. Definitely going to be windy up there with that Bay Area chill at night. So that's definitely something to look into right there. And again, this is the key 2-1 stretch. I would suspect them to lose to San Francisco in Santa Clara and then beat Seattle and beat Atlanta, going 2-1 in that stretch as well, which is very, very important to do. And then comment down below a Rams final record prediction. I want to hear. I have them going 12-5, personally winning the NFC West for a third straight season in the 3 seed in the NFC. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and like this video for tough games. Tough games build competitors, and I want to make sure that the Rams are ready to face any team heading into the postseason. And that is all for this episode of Rams Digest. Before you go, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell right next to it, top left, so you do not miss any daily Rams Digest content and Rams news coming at you. I've been your host, Joshua Finehirsh. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a good start to your weekend, and I'll see you soon for another episode of Rams Digest.